Hi. Hi. I have stuff to say. Tonight we have Chablis. Chablis. Okay, so this is a Louis Jardot. It's from the famed Chablis region, located in the northern part of Burgundy. This wine is made without oak to show off the elegant aromas and flavors of the Chardonnay. The grape is Chardonnay. There you go. Um, man. Tonight I'm going to tell you guys the story of Washington. Hmm. Now, this is actually a really interesting story, but one I feel like I wasn't ready to tell before. So, that's really good. Okay. So sometimes, let me go back. I started this channel because I personally realized that I wasn't being heard. And I was trying to talk to multiple people at one time, mostly in the community which I was living with. And so all of these things kept happening, and I felt like no one understood my perspective, right? Because it was a very flawed community, right? Obviously, like you guys see all the stuff that's going on in California. Imagine like living in the middle of it. A really sad part is like leaving there, okay, and like moving somewhere else where there actually are like customs and norms and tradition. And then looking back, it's actually very evident like where things went wrong, why things are going wrong. Um just what's up, especially being a member of the black community, because the black communities usually hit the hardest, right? So it's like in the black community everything's wrong. There's at least in parts of the Bay Area, if you go to like segregated parts, there's some stuff that's going right. There's still some stuff that's like completely like doesn't make any sense, but there's some, so it's like 50% right. Like in the black community in California, it's like probably 100% wrong, right? So that's still a big difference. Anyway, um, so if I go back when I started this channel, I was living through kind of a lot, and there was even stuff when I started the channel that I didn't have time to unpack. So this story comes all the way from, I think, 2019, I want to say. This is 2019. So 2019, I moved from California to Washington, and I moved to this like little small town called Redmond, Washington, where the only thing really in that town is Microsoft. It's known as like Microsoft Town because pretty much everyone who lives there works at Microsoft. It's like Whoville kind of, but for Microsoft employees. Now, as you could probably assume, Microsoft is like predominantly white. Like basically everyone who works there is like very suburban, very white, very educated. Um, and now I come in, I'm like this single person, single like black woman. People always think I'm like a high schooler, so I look very young, and maybe like a little older than a high schooler. Like I usually get like 21, 22, whatever. And but I move in, right, and so when I'm talking about like racial socialization, the reason that I have to keep saying that is because like if you look at the news, if you look at media, if you look at everything going on in black culture, a lot of the stuff that even the people who are popular, the people who are successful are promoting, it's like all counterculture. Pretty much all of it. So, if you are not a part of the black community and you're trying to understand the black community and all you see is like Sexy Red, Drake and 21 Savage making murder songs, you know what I'm saying? Like, all you see is like counterculture, top boy power. You're like, oh, I know where these black people are coming from. There is no content about people like me, like except for the content that I've now created, right? Like you can just go back on my channel if you're wondering, like my perspective. I've been sitting here telling you now for about 3 years. That's not like that long, but also it's not nothing. And like my perspective has differed from everyone else in my community for all of this time. So all of this time, there's been virtually no one. Maybe like I've found one or two other people who have a perspective that's even virtually similar to mine. But I've come on here with a perspective that is completely unpopular and completely unknown. And back when I was in Washington, I didn't even have a channel. All I had was like just myself. It was just myself. Um, and it is very scary to move into a community where there are no other black people or just a very small amount of black people who see you as being like a threat, or they see you as being like so foreign and like such an outsider that like they don't even know it's like you're not human. And it's so strange, and I can't it's very hard to describe like the isolation that experience that you feel when you encounter something like that, because you still have to work, right? Like I was going there to work, so it's like I go in every day and I'm still a part of this team. I'm still like working, but it just felt wrong, or it felt incomplete or something. And I didn't know like how to I guess I just dealt with the discomfort. But when I think about it now, like in retrospect, it was not something that I should have dealt with. I should have found ways to be in the community, in that community. And I did a little bit. Like I found a little spot where I would go to dinner. It was called Homegrown. I would go there quite a lot. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very nice. I feel like I had a good experience, but there was still too much that was like way too foreign. I was too foreign, and it shouldn't be my responsibility to like take on the toll of like introducing an entire race to a whole community, like a whole city. It's so strange, especially when like all of the libraries are always called like Martin Luther King Library. You know what I'm saying? It's like you live on Rosa Parks Street or something. It's like I don't understand. How do you guys pretend like you don't know anything about black people, but every street is called like Martin Luther King Street? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so I also just saw a video where Brett Cooper talks about the Rich Men North of Richmond song by this like Oliver Anthony guy. Mm. I listened to the song. I like the song. It's a good song. I think I've got to say like I didn't know very much about country music before moving to Nashville. And there's a lot of songwriters here. And I think you might have I think that is one example of a country song. But I think maybe if you go back to that one Dolly Parton song that's like working 9 to 5, you might get back to the root of country music and what it really is. Um, so I think, there's this idea that like even when I listened to like Luke Bryan, and when I listened to it and I was laughing, I was like, what the hell is this? Mm. And then I guess I kind of understand like the reason that this sort of like mellow, very almost like neutral finesse between like men and women is happening there, where it's like much more overt, I suppose, in the black community. with like rap and hip hop, they're virtually saying the same thing. I guess it's just like country music is making it way more polite. Also, it does seem like the values there are a little bit more like the intent is to like preserve women and to like, yeah, it's to like preserve women, to probably like marry women and have children with women, not to like kill and murder and shoot women, which I feel like rap music is like tending to suggest that. So that's why like none of the black women are like surviving after rap music. In country music, like you could literally be in like a country music song and probably live on to have like children and get married and stuff, but that doesn't happen in the black community. So weird, but also true. Guys, I think I'm getting bags. Maybe this means I'm tired or I haven't had enough water. Let me see it. Oh, it's life. It's taking a toll on me. The last thing I want to talk about, and I didn't actually really talk about it that much. And I think in order for me to talk about it in a way that makes sense, I'll have to write about it and like write out these points to have really bold moments of clarity so that it makes sense to you. Mm. But I saw that people were Andrew Schultz was trending for calling Taylor Swift like the greatest artist of all time. And all these people, there's all this backlash, right? Because people are comparing Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Now, I think Andrew Schultz made a really good point, which I've also made. It is not fair to compare Beyonce and Taylor Swift. America is 60% white, and Taylor Swift is like a global artist. I'm not saying that Beyonce is not a global artist. I definitely think Beyonce is popular globally, like people know who she is. But Taylor Swift is way more popular than Beyonce. And some of it does just have to do with whiteness, okay? I even think, not even to be funny, but I think Rihanna globally is like more popular than Beyonce. Like globally. Just because, like, even in Brazil and like, just like in all these parts of the world, like Thailand, like, look at the places that Rihanna does shows that she's like sold out shows. I think Beyonce has done like international shows too, but Beyonce's primary like bread and butter is like America. North America is like her real like um and that's not, I don't think that's like a bad thing at all. I don't think it's, I just think that is, like what it is. I think it's interesting. I think it's good. Um yeah. I But I think the thing about Taylor Swift that I have learned to realize is like Taylor Swift has been telling her authentic American girl story from the beginning. In all of its doom and gloom, the highs, the lows, and it's really a story of like a very traditional American girl. And I mean, I don't want to say just a white American girl, but like literally she's told the American girl story and she's a really good writer. Beyonce isn't a really good writer, and Beyonce doesn't write most of her music. Taylor Swift actually does. And the reason that Taylor Swift can do eras is because like it's almost like scrolling back through her diary, right, of all of these parts of her life that she's like openly shared with everyone. Um and so we've like laughed with her, we've cried with her, we've as women, especially if you've grown, and I'm a newly converted Taylor fan. I've only been here since Evermore. Some people have really been here since like Tim McGraw and like the first album. They've been here. So they've seen a lot and they've like experienced a lot. And like she's helped everyone process like a lot of emotions. And I don't think it's like I also think that Beyonce has done that to an extent, but the part that I think a lot of us cannot overshadow is this like, I feel like Beyonce is the version of like a pop princess, where Taylor Swift is like a country artist. And so just like we've seen with like all this Oliver Anthony, how he's telling this authentic story that resonates with like the everyman, Taylor Swift honestly did the same thing. Like she's told as many stories about like sorrow and brokenness as she has about like, you know, being in a successful relationship. Like she's told both sides of that. So we've seen the highs and the lows, the confidence and the insecurity. We've seen the brokenheartedness. We've seen the relationships end. We've seen the relationships start. Like we've literally been there when like the boyfriends have come and the boyfriends have gone. Cornelia Street, like hello, Dear John, a song about actual John Mayer. These are like real people and like real instances and like real songs. That's something that you don't get that all the time. I mean, we do have like Beyonce and Jay-Z, and it's cute, but it's not like the same. But there's also a big generational gap there. I do think that it's completely unfair and also not realistic to compare Taylor Swift to Michael Jackson in terms of artistry. I think that Taylor Swift will go down as something else. Um, I think that Michael Jackson has his own. There's all of these like cultural and racial and like genre shifts that Michael Jackson did that make his artistry a little bit bigger. It's just in its own realm. But I also feel like Beyonce has done that too. Just in terms of the like gargantuanness of her talent and her ability. Like she's really, really talented. Like she's really, really talented. And that is very difficult to ignore. She's a serious talent. But Taylor Swift is very talented too. So it's very strange to see people, come on and talk about how her mediocre performances, and they were calling her like a mediocre white girl and all of this stuff. And I've got to say, like I saw clips of the Era show. She killed it. She Taylor Swift isn't a good dancer at all, but she was like hitting the dance moves. Okay, she's like she's swimming underwater. She's not lip singing any songs. Like she's singing the whole time. She's playing the piano. She's giving a quality show. Like Taylor Swift is giving like Rihanna level performances here, but Taylor Swift writes her own songs. Like these are her own stories. Like all writing credits go to Taylor. So she's like Rihanna 3.0. Like she's really good. I think y'all are missing the meat and potatoes here. Like she scripted this entire show herself. Like every single thing you see on stage at Eras, from the writing credits to the music to the recording to writing, that like she like directed and wrote the screenplay for the way that she wants the whole show to go. All of that is like credit to Taylor. And she's selling out venues. What she's doing is amazing. It's actually amazing. And like we shouldn't like pretend that it's something else. Like it's actually incredible. And like that's a thing. That's a thing. She did that. Yeah.